90 minutes recorded live, uninterrupted. The Pleasecast, episode 3, January 27, 2018. And I am your host, the Christian Internet Reporting. Co-hosting this evening, Leon the Jokester.
Yo, we are here.
Hey, how are you doing this evening, Leon?
I'm feeling great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, listen, how's the temperature out there in Tulsa?
Yeah. In Tulsa, the weather's good, life is good. I have no complaints, man.
Hey, have you, any Joel Osteen sightings out there?
I'm working on getting a Joel Osteen billboard on 71st and Lewis, man. That's a hot block street out here, and so I'm trying to change the game, man.
Yeah.
It'll cost $1 million, so maybe we could do a radio fundraiser for that.
Right, because you know what? I figure this: if we can get Joel Osteen on the show, we can get some more people from Norway on this show. We need some good, hard, productive people that could produce things that we need for this show, like people from Norway. I heard they do a lot of podcasting in Norway.
Yeah.
And they don't care.
I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah, they do. I'm serious. I heard that they do. Also, they don't really care out there. Because you can get your tools from any shed house, right? But Norway, there's a certain kind of tool operator that you can get from Norway. You can't get from any kind of shed house. So I thought if we can get Joel Osteen. Hey, did you know? Are you still practicing your comedy in stairwells?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because this week was my first week at my new job, and so just trying to feel my way around.
Yeah.
Having low vision, man, just trying to, learn the ropes, and during my lunch break, I just felt very compelled to go into stairwells and practice. So I wouldn't be this odd guy just standing around with a cordless mic in a place where you don't need a mic. And so with so much stuff going on CNN, I don't want to be that oddball holding a cordless mic like what's this dude about? So I just said I'll find a stairwell.
Yeah, because it's better to run into a guy with a cordless mic in a stairwell. Yeah.
Hey, I gotta do what I gotta do, man.
Hey, you do.
I'm really excited though, man. Because I was practicing in the stairwells, and since God seen my faithfulness in that area, I just got booked for 3 more shows, and some churches coming up in April and in May. So I mean, life is looking real good with the comedy, man. So we don't keep it up.
Well, hey, that's great news. I wanted to tell you also that I listened to an older podcast that you had, and you were talking to. It just happened to catch on Facebook, but I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that later. It was on happened to be the topic of Mark the Atheist, but that could be for another time. Just wanted to let you know I found it out there. It was interesting.
Yeah. The doctor in Phoenix, man. That's my boy.
Yeah, we might try to get him on the Pleasecast. So
yeah, that'd be cool, man. He actually owes me dinner. He said, anytime I'm in Phoenix, he said, come on over for dinner, man. I'd love to have you. So I was trying to break some barriers that night, and it happened. It worked, so I'm good.
Well, good. Hey, you're breaking barriers. Hey, if you practice in the stairwells enough with your blindness, you're going to break a lot of other things, too. You got to watch out.
I know.
Yeah. Hey, listen, real quick. Hey, tell me one more time, what's the temperature in Tulsa?
Oh, man, tonight I'm going to go with, last time it was -10. Tonight I'm going to go with an easy 50.
Okay. Wow. So let me ask you this. From the time I asked you to the time you just said now, has there been any change in the temperature or climate?
Yeah, because Tulsa is bipolar.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what we may get. I wear shorts with a jacket.
Okay. So, right, for the time being, the facts are supported. Climate change is real. Is that correct?
Basically.
Okay, good. So basically, and we're not talking, this is basically the facts are confirmed, right? Now. We'll check in later. Because
nothing has changed.
well, so far. Let me know if any change. We'll prove this thing wrong or right by the end of the show. Okay, we're checking the facts. So we have, speaking of the facts, we have a special guest host this evening here on the Pleasecast. Hey, by the way, now, did you know you can hashtag this, the Pleasecast, and we are performing, learning, educating, advancing, serving, entertaining, and along with the Pleasecast team, we are performing, learning, educating, advancing, serving, entertaining to engage and motivate. And we have just the guest, the special guest host of our show this evening, and we want to say a special welcome to hashtag. We're going to go ahead and hashtag this tonight since it's a Christian show. And you know how we all Christians, we love our Christian hashtags. And we're going to go ahead and say this is hashtag Scott Shimamoto. How you doing?
What's going on, Andy? What's going on, Leon? What's happening, man?
So, hey, listen, you know what? I looked up, this is not easy to do for everybody, but I went to YouTube and I typed in Scott Shimamoto, and I got like a ton of stuff.
There are 3 Scott Shimamotos. There's
Yeah.
actually 4 Scott Shimamotos.
Yeah, that's a ton of stuff. You should see my stuff. That's a ton of stuff compared to my stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, you got 4. You got 4 up. So
it's four of them, and one of them, unfortunately, like crashed into a mountain in a plane and died. And everybody's like, "Scott, what's going on with you?" I mean, well, not what's going on with you. They were like calling, and they're like, "Hey, you're still alive?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still alive." And found out there's that guy, and then there's a pharmacist,
okay.
and then there's another guy that is a rapper. And I used to be a rapper back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I was Rockamoto, man. You guys never heard of me. But I was rocking the house.
Let's see now. Wait.
Before the show's over tonight, you got to kick a freestyle for it.
Okay.
So I can't freestyle, but I can me style. You know what I mean? I got to write the stuff down first. I can't do it like those guys that can freestyle in a battle. And my stuff was not crazy like that anyway.
Hey,
Okay.
real quick, I don't want to derail this. I love the conversation, but we got to take a break before the 10-minute mark, and we're up to about 8 minutes. I want to see, first of all, we're going to be talking to Scott Shimamoto from where or what county or zip code, if you can tell us.
I'm in the 91107. That's Pasadena.
Pasadena. Good.
Alley.
So,
Yep.
all right, and then we know that we're going to be talking about this, but you are going to be performing. We're going to get into this early, and then we're going to talk about it more. This coming week, this would be January what? At the Ice House.
31st. Yeah, January 3rd, first Wednesday.
At the Ice House
the Ice
in
House.
Pasadena, and we'll get more.
Rudy Moreno show.
Detail again, please.
I'll be on Rudy Moreno show on Wednesday.
Okay.
We'll talk about it after the break. How about that?
Yeah,
I know
super.
We're going to come up on this break.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to play a quick clip. This is Scott Shimamoto, Japanese pimp. And would you like to play this one? Is this one good? Japanese pimp?
You can play it.
All right, let's
Yeah,
go.
if you want to play the whole thing, but yeah, you can play it.
Let's go ahead and see here some of Scott Shimamoto.
I know this dude ain't no pimp. That's because we ain't got no game, you know what I'm talking about? The Japanese people, we're too polite, you know what I'm saying? Now the brothers, any brothers in the house? Where at? Oh, what's up? What's up, man? Assalamu alaikum, brother. What's up? Hey, what's your name, man? What's your name? You know what? If you weren't black, I would say, hey, but Jeanette's cool, man.
And we are back with the Pleasecast, or should I say on the Pleasecast. And we're hashtagging tonight. Yes, we are hashtagging the Pleasecast. So we're saying a hashtag the Pleasecast tonight. And we have co-hosting this evening, Leon, the Jokester.
Yo, we in the building.
Yeah. So I understand out there, it was, what is it now? What's the temperature out there in Tulsa, Leon?
They dropped it just a degree. It's 49 now, but you know.
Okay.
Like I said, I still got the skinny jeans on. I got the skinny shorts on, man.
Okay. So you
you ain't never seen these.
I don't want, yeah.
I don't want to see skinny jeans, man. I did not want to see that, Leon.
All right.
It's Jordan shorts.
Hey.
It's all good, Scott. Hold me down, bro. Hold me down.
So Scott Shimamoto, what's the deal with tell me about this Assalamu Alaikum thing. What is that? I don't get that.
Assalamu alaikum?
Yeah, tell me about that. Is that part of the comedy
Okay,
or is
well, so I'm a black man trapped inside an Asian who grew up with Mexicans living in a white man's world, right?
that okay?
I know.
Now we're
I
talking.
talk to brothers, man. When I talk to brothers, I want to get them to know that I'm down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll just drop Assalamu alaikum. No black dudes ever come to me and say Assalamu alaikum. I don't know the response to that. Leon,
Yeah.
maybe you can help us out with that.
Tell me.
How do you say it?
Salaikum salam is the response. So you say assalamu alaikum, like salaikum salam, so it's like peace. Like I peace with you, brother. It's like, you know, we're on the same page. So it's all good, it's all love.
All right, so it's basically, if I say, okay, so it's basically saying it backwards, right?
In the sense, yeah, basically. And then don't forget, you gotta have your bean pie on deck too, because in St. Louis, the Muslims, black Muslims, will actually stand in the middle of the street, say assalamu alaikum, but then they will want you to buy the bean pie or the newspaper. You can buy both, but it's kind of like a respect thing if you buy, both. So me, I don't do bean pies, but I love to read. So I'll get the newspaper back in the day.
I'll be on the streets, I'll be selling like soybean pies. How about that?
Exactly.
So
Whatever's clever, bro.
hey, let me ask you then, Scott. What is I know I'm gonna go ahead and shift gears here just a tad. What is your vocation? In other words, what is your, I guess, vocation by trade or interest or whatever?
So how do I keep the lights on?
Yeah.
So I do mortgage loans. I help people buy houses. So yeah, when they buy a house, I help them get a loan.
That's
It's a lot of fun. It's fun.
Yeah, so you're lucky. So then you would say that by vocation, like some people are plumbers, some people are teachers or whatever, tax accountants, and some people are real estate loan agents. Is that what you said you do?
The loan part, right?
Loan part, yeah.
They call us loan officer.
Oh, loan officer.
But I help. Yeah, so I help people get the mortgage and make their dreams come true with the American dream. Yeah, get them in a house.
So do you understand all of this stuff with the mortgage crisis? Could you explain that?
The what crisis?
The so-called mortgage crisis in 2008, 7, and 8?
Yeah, that was, so what happened was, back in the day, in order to get a mortgage loan, it was kind of like, you have to provide your loan documentation, tax returns, all this good stuff, right? So it was like mama bear, It made sense for the person to get a loan, right? And what they did is they made it to where they had this thing called stated income, meaning you just get to say whatever you want on the loan without providing any loan documentation or income documentation. They made it too easy, like Baby Bear.
Okay.
And it got too crazy, and so everybody was getting these loans, and they're flipping burgers, and they're buying $700,000 houses, and then when what they would do is they buy the house, and the market was so overheated that even though they couldn't make the payment, they just wait a couple months. The house is worth $750 now, and then now they sell the house for $750. They had a nice little profit, and they got out of it, right? But when they found out that they could not sustain it, then people had to actually start paying for these loans. And that's when the whole thing crashed because they could not afford to do it, and everybody just let that houses foreclose. Now it's like Papa Bear to get a loan. I mean, they check everything. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it went from
it's amazing.
So it went from being
Like
yeah. I saw the movie The
Yeah.
Big Short. That's how I learned about. That's my education. Is the movie The Big Short.
yeah. So that was all that stuff that was happening is all true. They just made it too easy to get a loan, and people they used to call them liars loans. They used to call them all kinds of stuff. Ninja, they said that ninja, no income, no asset, no job, all that stuff. It just got too crazy, and that's why we almost bankrupted the world.
Yeah.
Because our markets are so huge and the money was so big.
Right. Hey, it's a good thing Trump got us out of that. So, anyways, what I'm asking about though is that hey, listen, I'm a big Trump supporter. I have to be. I'm always looking out for my friends. That's why I asked about your zip code to make sure Trump doesn't accidentally send drones your way. Yeah. So if you're in good hands over here.
Trump,
Yeah.
I'm Trump's like
Right.
I'm like the Kim Jong Un of Pasadena for Trump.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
I can't support Trump.
Hey, but don't you think that? Did you hear him say the other day that he? Oh, by the way, just real quick though. So you're an honest loan officer, right?
You know what? I have to be able to sleep at night and do the right thing for my client. And and if you try and cut corners and stuff like that in my business, you're just going to cause harm to everybody.
Right. Hey.
And I'm not honest because I'm just trying to, whatever.
Yeah. No, I understand. Hey, you want to?
The thing to do is to do things like that. It's just not right.
Well, good for you. That's what we're trying to do here. Listen, speaking of that, did you ever see the movie Drag Me to Hell?
Did not get that. Did not see that.
Did you see that one, Leon? Drag Me to Hell?
That went to the movie theaters, and that's an old one.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's old in internet times. It's internet time. It's old, but it's not bad. It's got the guy. What's the guy's name that was the Mac guy, and he was in Die Hard 4, and Justin Long. Justin Long. And he played a guy whose girlfriend worked at a bank, and it was her job to get loans. She was a loan officer, and she denied a loan to this like old gypsy lady. He put a curse on her because she insulted her. She was trying to make a good impression on her boss. So the gypsy put a curse on her, and the curse was that she was going to go to hell. So that was the whole premise of the movie. It was a pretty good movie made by Sam Raimi. So, but what I was going to say is that no, it's good to know that there's honest people out there. And then I lost my train of thought because I didn't want to not acknowledge that. But
Well, you'll come back to it.
yeah, but how did you get into?
Honesty is always the best policy.
Yeah, but how did you get into doing comedy from loans? On your Facebook it says loans by day, jokes by night.
Because, like I told you, I failed as a rapper,
Okay.
so I had to do something. So I have this psychotic need to be on stage.
Yeah.
Everybody on this call.
Right.
We all have this crazy thing where we need to be on the mic for some reason, and I would do my shows, and I'm dropping these rhymes, and everybody's like giving me a polite applause, and then they're like laughing at all the stuff I'm saying in between songs. I'm like, I need to do comedy. I think I need to do comedy. I'm not selling any records.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Not a good thing.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to say about your comedy, because I'll let the people know a little behind the scenes. And it is that earlier, before the show, I was talking to you, Scott, and then this is even before Leon got on the phone. So Leon, you'll be now part of this. But we were talking a little bit about where we're coming from in our comedy, and I feel that some of what we do in our real life would influence how we might perform certain things on stage, because we have two roles to perform. One would be as a performer, and one would be as whatever other role we're performing in the community as a person with a vocation to do a professional job. And I'm finding that as a person that writes comedy and has been writing for years, not just comedy, and studying things for years, how things work in my own mind and in the world around me, that the world it's becoming almost like a minefield of where everybody wants to put you out of business now. If you said the wrong thing, it's their job to make you go bankrupt now. And it's such a weird thing because I remember as a kid, nobody acted this way towards people. You know, it wasn't like people that had disagreements over Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan refused to take their pictures together. You know, this is just, to me, it's just bizarre. And I feel like, but Scott, you take a clean approach when you're on stage. You do you said you do perform clean mostly, right?
Now I do. When I first started, I didn't really drop F-bombs a lot or anything like that, but I had a lot of material that was clean, and all of a sudden it would twist at the end. And what I found is I do a lot of corporate shows, I do a lot of fundraisers, I perform in churches too, and, you know, the super clean. And what it does for me, it allows me to perform more because I don't have this restriction where people says, okay, well, it's going to be a clean show, then I have to throw away half my stuff or 90% of my stuff. That's not writing it clean because you can always dirty it up, but sometimes you can't clean it up. And it's not a moral thing. It's more of I just have this psychotic need to be on stage, and I just love performing, and I get this rush. So, you know, and being Japanese, I'm big into efficiency, so I don't want to waste my time writing. That's why I don't write political jokes.
Yeah.
I will talk about politics just all the time, and if it's a funny line, that's fine. But I don't write because it's too much of a waste of time. Because next week, you know, that person might not be in office anymore, and
hey,
you know.
Well, that's what I was going to say about what you said about the Kim Jong-un of Pasadena. But I was thinking, doesn't it seem like they're actually working together? Don't you think they call each other every night and plan out what they're going to say to each other the next day on TV? You think they might be doing that?
I have no idea. They're
professional wrestlers?
Like two scared chihuahuas in the yard, and they're just like they're so scared that they, you know, they have to start talking smack, you know, and instead of being, you know, a man about this and talking stuff out, you know, they just think that they could snipe each other.
Yeah. Well,
Scott, tell me this, Scott, because I'm just curious to ask. I have a few questions written down for you. What has been some of your biggest comedy obstacles? Before we take a commercial break, just I know a lot of comedians may be curious to know what happens behind the scenes in comedy. It seems like we're having a blast on stage, which is true, but then when we get off stage, what are some of the politics or obstacles that you face trying to be an up-and-coming comedian?
I think the big thing is being in LA, everybody's here. You know, everybody's here. And I'm not going to say the names, but you go to some, I'm not going to say the club either. You go to these clubs and you see these national headliners, and they're up there doing it for free, on a Tuesday. You know what I mean? They're just up there because they need to practice to get out on the road. And so the clubs out here in LA, they don't have to pay you necessarily all the time because there's so many great comics out here, and they know that, you know, a guy like me, you know, up and coming, hey, I'm willing to do a free gig because I just need to get on stage and I need to work all my stuff out too. And then when you take it to that next level, you see this celebrity walk in, you're like, whoa, this guy walked in, and you're like, he's doing this free show, and clubs get to make money off that, you know what I mean? That's the big thing for LA comics, it's stage time and then getting paid for what you do. So if you're a little creative and getting paid, I like asking you too, because, you know, being out in Tulsa, you know, it's a different scene, right? Because
big time. I'm the Christian Kevin Hart out here.
Oh, nice. That's cool, man.
Hey,
you get anywhere near Kevin Hart.
Hey, you know what? We have to take a break because we're at almost 24 minutes on this segment, which is super. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Philippians 4:8. But we're going to get back with Scott Shimamoto. And let's see. Hey, listen, I also want to ask you about this new Nissan. Man, this thing looks good. You know a lot about Nissans, right, Scott?
I've own Nissan because they got sold to the French a few years ago, so it's not even a Japanese company anymore.
Oh, okay.
they're like the black sheep of the Japanese auto industry.
Okay. Well,
Which one you thought?
so this would be Leon's department then. At this point, it's over in your department now, Leon. Yeah.
Hey, Acura Integras, baby, all day. That's
So
what I have.
I will buy another Hyundai when I get done with this one, I promise, if they're still making them like this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We're on the Please Cast with Leon the Jokester and Scott Shimamoto, and we'll be back in just a second. Hang on. And we are back with the Please Cast. And we have a very special co-host this evening, and that you know this co-host, hashtag Leon the Jokester.
Yeah.
How are you this evening,
Going
Leon?
down.
What's up,
Man,
Leon?
I'm superb, man. Life is good. It's better than good. It's great. And I'm just hanging out, man. This is a blessing, you know?
Yeah, oh, I do know. Hey, where's your next, where are you performing coming up?
We're going to be at the Venue Shrine February 18th at 9 p.m. I'm going to do like a 10-minute set. Then February 21st, I'm going to be at the Looney Bin Comedy Club, 7 p.m. Do another 4 to 5 minutes max because, you know, open mic, you only get 4 or 5 minutes. And then, like I said before, I just got booked for 3 more shows, April 15th and May 18th and May 19th. And so those are 20-minute sets. So we're just, doing this comedy thing, man, taking it all the way, to the next level.
And this is
cool.
right. And these are all venues in Tulsa, or are they around Tulsa?
No, these are all in Tulsa. The first 2, one's downtown, the other's south side in the suburbs, and then the other 3, I have to do a little traveling, like 40 minutes away, like at a campground. So, and those 3 will be at churches. The other 2 are like in comedy clubs. So it's cool. I get to get a taste of both worlds.
That's great. Do you like? I know this is the question of the day, and then we're going to introduce again acknowledge our very special, as we said, your very special co-host, as you always are now. But we do have a very special guest host this evening, but not yet. First, I want to ask you, now that you're doing kind of both, do you find, come on, you can tell us though, do you enjoy performing one or the other, church or not church? Just curious. I'm only curious. And why?
Yeah. I definitely feel like it's 50-50 now. I mean, my whole motto is saving souls one laugh at a time. So I believe that bringing jokes and material and being able to share. I think with like the churches, I get to do more of what my calling is, and that's like I can do jokes, but I also don't have to feel like I can't share my testimony or talk about things that are really going on in life. In the comedy club, I have to alter things a little bit. And what I mean by altering it, not like, take away glue material stuff. That's not what I have, but I don't want to come off offensive because a lot of people that are in comedy clubs already have this assumption that, Christian comedian comes to the stage, what's about to happen? What is he about to say? Is he about to judge me? So once I do my set, and you can go on YouTube and check it out, and then that's when they're like, oh man, I never had 10 atheists give me a hug simultaneously. That made me feel so good, bro. That never happened in my life. So that shows me right now that my set is definitely for the streets, it's for the people, it's for all people. Love God, love people. We're here. Let's go.
Great. The only thing I could add to that is I don't think you hashtag that, but I'll go ahead and say we can retroactively put a hashtag on that. And then now later in the show, which actually occurs now, we have our very special guest host this evening, Scott Shimamoto.
Hey, what's up? What's happening? Glad to still be here and glad to be on this podcast. I love this.
Listen, I had a follow-up question to some of the line that Leon was getting to, and that was, going in L.A., but it was this, I wanted to tell this story, but I also wanted to ask you how, when you were first putting together your resume, what did you put on it, like, in terms of what you wanted to represent yourself as a performer, or did you ever do a resume? Because I did, and I put on it very prominently the first time I ever performed in Los Angeles. It was at the open mic at the Comedy Store, and a person that I want to go ahead and acknowledge, and this person's name is Paul Douglas. He told me, he said, listen, I want you to, he asked me a couple questions after an open mic I had performed, and he said, I want you to, if you're serious about this, go down to the Comedy Store on this date, and you tell the guy at the door that's taking the names that so-and-so sent you down here, and his name, Paul Douglas. And I'd never done it before in my life. I'd done one open mic, and I'd been practicing this set, and I had this little set, right? It was a 3-minute set, and I did the set, and I just thought, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. And then, to me, that completely changed my entire life, was being able to get on that open mic at the Comedy Store. And, but now I feel more comfortable not even performing on stage, because I don't even want anybody to see my face.
Really?
Yeah, because, don't get me wrong. Yeah, well, it's just kind of where I am in my path right now. I'm just comfortable here. And I think that's why I got hooked up with Leon, because I said, I look at this forum that we have, the Pleasecast, and I look at it as me kind of bringing together interesting people that are doing comedy the way I would like it to be done, which is in a conversational way, as opposed to where the person standing up in front of a bunch of people tells them when it's time for them to laugh. You know what I mean?
Well, everybody has their lane. You have your niche that you're comfortable with and that you like. For me, I just like being in front of people, and I get this huge rush when I'm getting the laughs.
Yeah.
And
I do too.
It's just like you can't, it's like scoring a Super Bowl, a touchdown in the Super Bowl. You can't put a price tag on that, because not everybody can do it. And it's just, I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of like a superpower or something like that. You're kind of showing off in a way, but at the same time, when your friends after the show, like Leon, when you're talking about, you're getting a hug from people after the show, it's really gratifying. Because you made somebody happy, and you made them forget about their problems or whatever for however amount of time, and it's just like really rewarding. It's hard to explain. But,
Scott, who's some of your favorite comics that's in the game right now? Okay. If you had to choose like a top 3 or even the top 5, who would you say has been some of the more inspirational ones to you?
Okay, so it's the same guys everybody says. Like it's Richard Pryor, it's George Lopez. Okay, so those are like the ones, but there's other ones now that I've come across that are super funny, and like one of them right now, like this Ron White. You guys know Ron White? That he's on the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. My God, he is just, his delivery is so funny, and I've been listening to it a lot lately while I'm driving around, and it's not always punchlines, with him, it's just like his attitude and delivery. So I really like him. I like Jim Gaffigan. He's so funny, for the most part he's clean. I like a lot of guys that are local here that you just don't, they're not on the national stage yet, but they will be. Like DJ Cooch, he's super funny. Carlos Oscar, and then the ladies, Cristela Alonso. Cristela had that show. I have not met Cristela Alonso, even though she's in Rudy Moreno shows, which I'm going to be doing on Wednesday at the Ice House. I could funny. I like Ellen DeGeneres. I like, Joan Rivers. Yeah, of course, Joan Rivers. I mean, I like all those, because of the craft of it. And then there's other guys that you wouldn't think they're funny, but guys like Eddie Griffin. If you watch his, have you seen his HBO special? The guy is a genius. He's dropping the N word a lot and whatever, but I'm looking more for content because he doesn't have to say that. He doesn't have to say it. He can do the joke without saying it, but I mean it's funny with it or whatever, just the way he says it. But
when he does the Sammy Davis impression, that's what he's like really known for.
oh my God, but there's just so many funny cats out there, and when you see them, then you're like, I need to raise my game because you need to be on that level. Because it's not just making people laugh. Like I want the peer respect too. Like I want the other comics to say, oh, he's just not getting stage time because he's like the only Asian who's doing it right now or whatever in that city. You know what I mean? He's a novel. Yeah. I want to be able to say, okay, I'm up there. I don't care what color I am. I'm telling funny jokes, and people are laughing. You know what I'm talking about.
I totally get it. How hard is it to get into the Comedy Store?
Wait, hold 1 second. We're going to take a break, and then please, Scott, answer that question when we come back.
Okay.
But just so we know who we're talking about, the questioner was Leon the Jokester.
Yes.
How you doing, Leon? How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Swell.
Yeah. And I, what I did was I had to pull this train over real quick because we got a break coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we come back, we're gonna get right back on track, right where we were, right?
All right.
Yeah.
I need to answer the first question too. How do I get it started? How do I start getting started?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll
Right.
talk about that too.
Right, but I just want to slow it way down, and the reason for that is because I don't know why I did it. I just did it. It seemed to work out that way. So you guys won't have any problem getting right back up to speed when we come back, right?
Oh no.
Okay, good.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we think of this as kind of like we're doing Christian porn, where if the director calls cut, you got to just be ready to go right immediately when the director calls action again, right?
I'm always ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. It's clean. So the main thing here is that we're here with the special guest host, Scott Shimamoto. Still with us, Scott?
I was still here.
Great.
I was waiting for you to finish that.
So, and then we'll be back right with the police cast. So hang on a second. Hold on. And we're back with the police cast with the Leon, the jokester, with the special guest. He's co-hosting, and then we have special guest host tonight, Scott Shimamoto. And Leon, you were asking what?
For Scott, how difficult is it to get on the roster to perform at the Comedy Store? Because if I'm not mistaken, the Comedy Store is one of the places where when you go inside, I seen Chris Rock doing like a little documentary of how he was going to be there, and he showed all the different people in the hallways, like the greats of comedy, being able to perform there. And I'm not familiar with what are the actual biggest comedy venues to perform at in LA, but I know the Comedy Store is huge, so we'll just start with that. Like how hard and challenging is it till you just show up, or is it one of those deals only celebrities can perform and you just have to sit back and watch? How does it work?
Okay, so at the Comedy Store, and this is the way it is with all the clubs in LA. The weekends, that's prime time. You know what I mean? That's when the clubs are making the money and they're keeping the lights on, so they're going to have the celebrities in there and headliners, and everybody's there's no rookies at that point. They have open mics. They do have open mics. Some of the clubs have open mics / audition to try and get in the clubs. And then on the off nights, say Tuesday through Thursday, maybe a Saturday matinee or something like that, you'll have a lot of independent producers who are helping the clubs get, people to come to the shows, and those producers have their following. They also have the thing. This is the B word. Okay, the B word is bringer. For a lot of the newer comics, they have these shows called bringer shows, and what they'll do is on an off night they'll have, they'll get booked, and then they get to do their X amount of time, but they need to bring like 5 or 6 people with them to come to the show and support the room, so they can have an audience. So that's kind of what happens when you're first starting is these bringer shows, and I mean, it's hard because after a while you burn your friends out and stuff like that because maybe you need your friends to come out and see you 5 or 6 times, and maybe you just have 5 minutes worth of stuff, and they heard it 5 times and they don't want to hear it anymore. Sometimes they get a little burned out on it. But once you get past that stage, then you start getting booked on your own merit. Like the producers know that you bring the heat, so they'll book you. The way I do it, the way I create my own gigs, and I tell all the comics that anybody who's around me that wants to get booked, I do a lot of fundraisers for let's just say someone's got a little league team, they need to buy some new uniforms, they hit you up to buy some candy bars from them or something like that, and I go, what are you selling these candy bars for? Oh, we have to raise money to buy uniforms for our kids or whatever. I'm like, why don't we do a comedy fundraiser? You know what I mean? And then, they'll sell tickets to a comedy fundraiser, and then, I get to do a longer stint, and then plus I get to get compensated for my time and everything. And then I'll book other people who book shows, and then I trade spots with them. That's how I get the vast majority of my gigs. And that's how I got good, because I was able to get a lot of stage time. But it was, it's definitely a grind, especially in LA, just because the comics are not just good, but they're also named guys. Okay. The first time I did, so the way I got my initial start in comedy is I would MC a lot of things, and I would get the laughs. Like I said, I was rapping, and I would get the laughs all the time. And I'm at a golf club, and I MC the banquet, and I killed for like an hour with no material. I just killing. So I told my buddy, hey, I killed it yesterday. I didn't know how to get started. And again, he goes, you know what? Get your act together. Go do something about it. So I Googled comedy class. And it just so happened, I live in Pasadena, and that's where the Ice House is. And Bobby Oliver was teaching there. So I decided to take a class. And the grad show was a performance at the Ice House, like a 5-minute set. And that was definitely a bringer. So after we took the class, we had the grad show, and everybody wanted to come to see me. And that room holds like about 180, and about 100 of the people in that room that night were my guys. Like, it was crazy. And I did not do anything wrong that night. I got on stage and they're laughing already. I killed that night. One of the guys that was, he kind of scouts new comics because he runs a show at the Comedy Store. And so he asked me if I want to do the Comedy Store. It's funny that you brought up Chris Rock, because when he told me that, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a star. I'm the next, whoever. I'm the next Richard Pryor. I'm the next Eddie Murphy. So he books me for the Comedy Store. It's a Wednesday night. We go out there, and there's 3 rooms at the Comedy Store. There's the main room, which holds about, if they open it all up, it's probably at 250 people. There's the belly room, which holds about 50. And then there's the original room, which is the full room, holds about 90. So he books me. He books for the belly room, which holds about 50 people, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be standing on the same stage where I paid money to go see people perform and this and that. So we get there, and I had like 35 people come to see me that night. And other people, they had their people too, right? So we had to move our show from the belly room to the main room. So now I'm like, okay, well, this is where I saw Richard Pryor on his DVD. I'm all excited, right? They start talking about Chris Rock being in the building, like dropping in. I'm like, there is just absolutely no way that Chris Rock, is going to be coming to our show, right? And we don't hear him. So at the end of our show, sure enough, Chris Rock is there. So we go in there in the green room, and Chris Rock's in there, and we're like, we're all rookies, right? Everybody in there was like new, and we're just like a bunch of groupies with Chris Rock, and we're like, Chris, blah blah blah, and Chris is so cool. He is the coolest. He's just so humble, and he's very reserved on stage, but super cool. And so Chris Rock, he did some new stuff that night. It was really, really cool. And it was like brand new stuff. Someone wanted a video, and he's like, turn the video off. I'm working on stuff. I mean, not because he's trying to be, the celebrity Chris Rock. And it was more than that. It was more like he's working on stuff, and it was not ready for prime time. He had to have somewhere to work it out. Like in LA, we work our stuff out at open mics. We don't usually get regular people coming to see our shows in open mics. It's mostly comics, critiquing each other or whatever. But it was like that, and I was like, wow, if Chris Rock has to work it out at this level, he has to start somewhere on every joke. I was like, man, it is a process. Anyway, when I saw him like working on stuff and even struggling with some of the new stuff, I was like, wow, I have a shot at doing something with this. Because he's a god. He's a comedy god. That guy is incredible to me.
We have to take a break. I got to take a break, but can I ask after the break to ask you if you will go ahead and talk about your process, and then what is your process? How do you come to find material? Because there are the things that I want to learn for myself, and then Leon, of course, keep asking questions. So we're on the Pleasecast with Leon the Jokester. Yep. And special guest host Scott Shimamoto.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm winging it alone tonight. Brian Petrasik's not here, so I usually have him on the other end on this side. But we're doing fine in Tulsa. And where are you from again, please, Scott?
Pasadena.
Pasadena, and you're performing this week, coming on
Wednesday, January 31st at the Ice House. I did Rudy Moreno's Wednesday Night Funny show. He's been doing that show for about 19 years.
Great.
Incredible.
That sounds exciting. We'll hear more about that when we come back on the Pleasecast. Okay. Hang on.
Sounds great.
And we are back with the Pleasecast. The hashtag Mark Pleasecast, as in you can hashtag that, and then make sure it's a Christian hashtag, because this is a Christian show. And if you didn't know it, we're doing Christian comedy with Leon the Jokester.
The show.
And how are you doing?
The show.
Yeah, hey, you're in Tulsa still tonight, right?
Yeah, man, and it's about 90 degrees now, man. So we talking comedy.
Wow.
So,
hey, you know what we should do?
Blazing hot.
We need to get. You know what? I've been trying to reach Trump. I usually say, I'm one of his advisors. Yeah, no, I am. I'm one of his advisors. You know what people say all the time? I say, you know what? Hey, there's one thing we could agree on. That's Trump works for me. Right? Speaking of people that Trump works for, we're going to have to get a hold of this guy or his supervisor, and that is our special guest host tonight, Scott Shimamoto.
Hey, what's up? What's happening?
Hey, thanks for coming out. And you're in Pasadena, right?
Right.
And you do,
My home studio in Pasadena.
yeah. But you perform a lot in Los Angeles, right?
I've been really lucky to get a lot of gigs, and a lot of people like to book me, and I want to get to a place where I can go on the road at some point. I might be doing something with a producer, promoter, but hasn't come through yet. But I do mortgage loans. I think I was telling you that, and I normally work out of home because I just need to be on my computer and have a phone. So I could definitely I could definitely go on the road and still do my work and still take care of my clients.
Right.
Because all this, shows are at night, right? And daytime, I could be in the hotel taking care of business. So, but, so you're asking me about my process.
Yeah. How do you tell us about how you write? I'm a writer, but I love to learn from writers. How do you approach your joke? Where do you look for the raw material, and then what happens there, and then how does it? Then how would you go about working it out?
Okay, so you guys are both creative people, so we have to look at things a little bit sideways. So, and I don't think we need to. I say we have that natural ability to. So if I see some guy walking down the street, like I see an old couple walking down the street, and the man is bent over and hunched over and walking really slow, and his wife is walking behind him a couple of steps, and they both look like they've been broken down by years of being married to each other and making each other crazy. I see that, and I'm like, okay, well, how can I turn this into a joke, right? So what I do is every time I have an idea, I email myself. It'll be like old couple, and the subject's gonna be old couple, and then in the body I'll type like, okay, well, he's walking down the street, he's all hunched over because it looks like he's been just worn out by her. She's walking behind him because she doesn't want to talk to him anymore. It's not like an Asian thing where the woman is walking behind him because she's respecting him. It's because she is just sick of seeing his face. Stuff like that. And I just do not edit myself. I just write it all down. And then later, when I feel like I have enough different angles or different setups or just observations about the situation, then I'll get it on Word. Like, the reason why I email myself and I'll say old couple is because later, first of all, I can't write legibly, so I need to type this stuff out. But later, I could just go on my email and I'll search on old couple, and all the stuff will pop up. I just cut it and paste it into a Word doc, and then I'll say, here's the setup. It's this, and then it's this, and then I'll try and punch it. And then once I get a set up, punch, then I put it in order as a story, because I'm a storyteller more than anything else. I do have some one-liners. I have a one-liner section in my show if I'm doing a long show, because I want to see if sometimes I'll just have a one-liner that's a concept, and I'll just drop them all in a row, and if I'm getting laughed off that one-liner, then I'll develop it into the rest of the bit. Because sometimes the concept is still good, and I'd rather just, say it, and then if I don't get the laugh after a couple times of saying it, then I know it's a loser. So I just cut it out. And then I invoke the Michael Jackson approach to writing, which is I write a lot. And I write, like it'll be a bullet type thing, and like one page of bullets is 5 minutes for me. And I might have like 3 of those pages, and out of that 3 of those pages, I'm only keeping the greatest hits. So hopefully when I get on stage, those are the greatest hits.
Yeah.
And then I have an album thriller. You know what I mean? Because Michael, right? He not only did he have talent, but he had work ethic, right? And he would record how many songs to make an album. And he just felt like, hey, work hard. Not all of them are going to be good. The ones that hit, hey, that's what we're going to roll with.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's my process.
I think I learned something just now. Do not edit yourself. Tell me about that. Let's say 1 minute, and then we're going to take a break. So talk a little bit about do not edit yourself. It sounds really cool.
Okay, so when I get into my creative mode, I turn off my left brain and let the right brain take over, and I don't critique myself at that point. I just put it all down there because I don't know what's going to be comedy gold. I just don't know, and I don't want to. I just want it to flow out naturally, and then when it's all out there, and after I write the setups and punches off those concepts, then I start critiquing. Then I'm like, okay, well, does this work? Does that fit into the story? And all that. And once I have that, then that's when I take it on stage. And then I really whittle it down. Because now I have to cut words out. I have to figure out if I set stuff up right. Or not. Like last week I was in Bakersfield, did a show. I did one of the bits. We had a heckler at the bar, and I lost my concentration. I didn't set the joke up right, and I did like about a 4-minute bit. And the big punchline at the end didn't get to laugh because I didn't set it up properly at the beginning. And, so you learn stuff like that just by being on stage. Hard to work this stuff in because a lot of times you don't get enough time. As you guys know, getting 10 minutes in LA is like crazy to get 10 minutes even. So, so we can talk about that when we get that.
Well, sure. One thing I wanted to talk about at some point is how I think you're a perfect guest for the show, a special guest host for the show, given that this is what hey, I know you know this, Leon. This is what the Pleasecast is all about. It's about raising the game, right? We're not only right. We're raising the bar. Check this out. This is the Pleasecast, by the way. We're gonna go on a break, but we got Leon the Jokester. Yeah. Hey, yeah. I'm glad. Hey, thanks for giving me that. Appreciate that. Sometimes Leon will give me more than I actually asked for. Thanks a lot. And then over here we got on the other side, we got Scott Shimamoto, and he's actually from Pasadena. And is that correct, Scott?
That's correct. I was born in Hollywood, though.
Great.
Hospital, baby.
Wow. Hey, that's a cool town. And you're going to be, Scott Shimamoto is going to be performing at the Ice House in Pasadena on, when?
Wednesday, January 31st, 8 o'clock.
Great. And that's you said it was part of a cool big deal. What was that?
Yeah, it's going to be in Rudy Moreno, the godfather of comedy in L.A.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in his show. He's been we're starting the 19th year. This is our first show of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a great lineup. We can get some of the guests after the break. But it's going to be a great show.
Well, we're going to go to the break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about how the Pleasecast is now working with Scott Shimamoto to raise the game here. We're raising the game, the standard, and the bar. So we'll be right back after this with the Pleasecast. Hold on. And we're back with the Pleasecast. And if you didn't know it, I will tell you that we are actually hashtagging that tonight. And that will mean this, that we are with the hashtag the Pleasecast team. And this will be including over here, hashtag Leon the Jokester.
Yep. Man, it's a good night, man. Good night for podcasts, good night for radio. All the comics, shout out to all the comics, man. Including you, Scott. We're doing it big, baby. Doing it big.
Yeah, thanks, man. This is a lot of fun for me. I love talking about comedy.
Yeah,
about this.
Hey, you have a lot to say. This is our special guest host tonight. You know, also, this is Scott Shimamoto, by the way.
Yeah. I'm famous right here in my living room. I'm really famous.
Hey,
but one day, everybody will know me.
Right. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Like I said, I love talking about comedy and the approaches, and I like hearing what other people have to say too about it, because everybody's got a different approach to it, and it's like I was watching a thing about Michael Jackson. I mean, because greatest entertainer of all time. I was watching a documentary about him, and he would study like James Brown, and he's studying all the greats too. He's not stealing from them, but he's learning how different people approach things. And when you look at the greats, that's how you get better. You can't help but to get better, because they're already doing what they need to do at a really, really high level. And so that's why I like talking to other comics.
Yeah, I love
So yeah.
comedy from the time I was a kid. It just depends on like how you see the world. So if you get three people in a room together, this is why I enjoy talking about a person's vocation, because it's just more interesting to me than asking about the weather. I find the most in common thing I have with most people, the thing in common I have most with people that I meet that I may have never met before, is that every person has something about them that is to them. They're the thing that is their identification. And that it comes down, for me, that means a vocation. So like if you were a plumber, right? In our world, somebody would say, "Oh, what are you?" They would say, "Scott, what are you?" They would say, "Oh, hi, Scott. Well, it's good to meet you. What are you?" "Oh, I'm a plumber," right? And so we have these vocations that we have to perform in society. And sometimes if you're a comedian, then you get to have as one vocation, whatever it is, right? So loan officer, and then jokes by night. But the thing you were saying about having the phone and you just needed a fax machine and you can get to wherever you needed to be, and that's kind of how Batman operates. And if you think about it, the comedian is almost an outlaw, right? It's like the Zen idea, where the Joker is the outlaw of society, where you almost have to operate at night as the Joker so that you can write these jokes. And the idea of not editing yourself, for me as a writer, and you said it, and I'm sure Leon deals with this, is when I'm writing, I do not edit myself when I write the initial draft for whatever it is I'm trying to work out, because I need to see exactly what I'm dealing with. And what I find is, for instance, when I write, this is why I have really added a lot to what I have written in terms of comedy about racism and bigotry and being a hateful person, with the hashtag me first. As in, this is all for me first. And then if anybody else wants to do it, then they're welcome. And if not, then fine, have a nice day. If you wish, please, and thank you. And that's my motto now, because I don't have any desire to try to change anybody's opinion. I'm in it to help myself first, and I am the most hateful person I know personally. So this is why my message against stopping hate is to me first. But so most of my comedy now is designed to help people, if they want to, do a critical assessment of their own self. And I don't tell people, this is what you need to do. You need to look at yourself critically in the mirror. What I tell them is, this is the approach I take in looking at my own self critically in the mirror. And this is how I see myself in a society where I have to live as a Christian and then pretend that I also don't have to do 17 other things a day. And then I go to church and I pretend that I'm only this one person, when in reality I'm 100 different people all week, but I pretend that my whole life and eternal life depends on how many times a day I can bow down and worship a bumper sticker. And so, for me as a Christian, I take comedy writing very seriously. And I know Leon does as well. But it's very refreshing to hear another writer say that they're not editing themselves, because I found out a lot about myself when I do writing. And I have to ask myself, okay, so you found out now you're a racist, so now you have to do some jokes about your own self, and you have to acknowledge, and speaking as an atheist, but using the language of the New Testament, and I would say, the Lord started telling me, you need to say this. This applies to me first, and that's it, period. It's not my job to tell anybody else, oh, it's your job to listen to what I have to say about what the Lord told me, right? And this is what the mission of Christians is, it seems, from my point of view, the most I've encountered, and I'm an honest Christian, is that it's their job, they've made it their job to tell everybody in the world that's not a Christian how to live like Christians. And it's ridiculous. So, it's refreshing to hear somebody else say that they would not edit themselves in their own writing of a joke. And I don't know how Leon feels about that, but from my point of view, it's really helped me to have a better understanding of what, Jesus Christ really is about in the New Testament, as opposed to what I thought he was about because of the way I was raised to worship a book instead of follow the example of what the stories in that book were teaching me about Jesus.
Right.
And so that's how I write my comedy. Yeah.
There's no arguing with, like the golden rules, all the stuff that Jesus talks about. You can't argue with any of it. It's all logical. It's all based on love. The problem is when some of the scriptures get misinterpreted, or some of the people who are supposed to teachers of it are teaching the wrong thing, and then people get indoctrinated with the wrong message instead of getting back to the message of. And I'm not a Christian, but I believe that the way that he would want you to live is that how you should live. You know what I mean? You want to
Yeah, go ahead, Leon.
And the same thing, you guys, like, the process, like, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Like, my manager always tells me, man, constantly, Leon, trust the process because God has the ultimate plan. And I truly do believe, like, with this comedy, like, you could really, no, it's not you could, you are impacting lives, like, forever. And so years from now, someone will remember. I mean, Richard Pryor passed away years ago, but Scott was able to mention his name on this interview because why? Richard Pryor has planted a seed, even though he's gone. Long gone. Charlie Murphy planted seeds. Ralphie May planted seeds. Bernie Mac planted seeds. And so, even though you'll leave, people will remember you at the Comedy Store. People will remember the seeds that you planted over time. And so my whole process, and I could break this down in 30 seconds, and then I'll pass the mic. My process of mentally writing is I sit down, and when I know that I'm preparing for a show in a comedy club, like, I don't want to be offensive. I want to walk off the stage after my performance, and I want people to realize that, I'm meeting you where you're at. No matter where you're at in life, no matter what your obstacles may have been to get here, tonight, we did this together as a team. If you're in the audience, we're a team. If I'm on the stage, we're a team, and I just think that if I write my jokes with that mindset, love God, love people, and then I win, before I even hit the stage, I won. And when I get off the stage, I continue to win with the people that attended the show. As far as the church is concerned, when I write more so like what you guys are saying, an unedited version of me and who I truly am at heart. And like Jesus said, it's not what comes out that makes you, what you put in your heart or in your mind, in your mouth that makes you unclean, but what comes out. And so I feel like when I'm at the church, I can really just truly be myself. I'm myself in the comedy clubs, but I feel like so I don't offend people or come off really preachy, I alter the set just a tad bit, but that's just to meet people where they're at. Like Jesus met the lady at the well where she was at. He knew that she had 5 husbands, but he didn't come off like, oh no, you need to come into the synagogue. He met her where she was at, and he planted that seed. And I just believe that's what we're doing with comedy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. And Yeah, you didn't say the word, but you said what this is respect, right? Because if someone invites you into their church, 'cause I've done churches too, even though I'm not, but I mean, I'm not really changing myself because I pretty much write a G. Not what you saw like on the Japanese pimp one, but when I do those kind of sets, it is like squeaky clean, G-rated, clean because of respect. I can't go into someone's house and disrespect them. I just can't do that. And the people who are there to see you, if you're in a club, they paid a lot of money to go in there, and they paid for drinks and all this stuff. Or if it's in a church, that is where they have their sanctuary. You have to respect all that. And without, like you said, without being preachy, you just do your thing, and they know you're respecting them. They can feel it. And then when they know that you're on that same plane, like you said, then they can relate to you, and it's all good. There's no losers. Then they're going to be comfortable with you, and they're going to, that's half the battle is they have to like you, in my opinion.
Hey, we got to take a break, but it's a perfect transition point. We're going to stop on this idea. Not stop, but we're going to transition. We're going to take a break. No losers. And hey, did you know that's what the Pleasecast is all about? And that means everybody wins, all winners. So, you know who I saw this on Leon's Facebook today because I have to get the last word in before the break. You know that. And it's this, that Leon you were talking about, how do you explain fifth place, right, to your son?
Yes.
And so we want to hear about that science project later. Because did you know that Leon's a real person? He seems like he's a superhero, right? He's Leon the Jokester, and nobody's ever seen him, right? He hangs out in stairwells with a cordless microphone, just hanging around, and then he's got a specially designed. This is not a lie either, because I'm a Christian. I can't lie. Only at certain times I'm able to lie as a Christian. But I have certain things that I'm able to lie about. So anyways, the thing is that he hangs out in stairwells, and he has a special cane that's being designed, and we're looking into that, and we're going to be checking the facts on that later to see what all that means. But Leon the Jokester's with us.
Yep. $1 million man.
And then we've got on the other side here, in real life, he's here. And this is the special guest host tonight for the Pleasecast, No Losers. So you know he's not a loser. And that is Scott Shimamoto.
Right on. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And we're going to be right back, and we're going to hear some about this science project, because this is amazing how this kid came in first place, fifth. He was the fifth person to come, but he was the first place fifth. And it was incredible. And then the other thing was, Scott Shimamoto is going to be telling us more about his show coming up at the Ice House in Pasadena on when?
Wednesday, January 31st.
All right. And so we know that the facts are still the same for that, right?
Say it again?
The facts have remained the same. You're still performing at the Ice House in Pasadena on January 31.
January 31st. It's going to be a really, really great show.
Okay, 31st. And then, so that's a fact.
We'll talk about it.
Right. Just checking.
Yep.
Because I'm one of the advisors for the Trump team, and we're always checking the facts. We'll be back in a minute with the Pleasecast. Hang on just a second. And we are back with the Pleasecast with our good friend and comedian. Now, this is a Christian comedian, but he's a comedian. Did you know? This person's name will be preceded by this hashtag, and then now here's the name, Leon the Jokester.
I need a Twitter page, man. Scott, can you hook me up, bro? I need to get a new Twitter page, bro.
Yeah, you don't want to get on Twitter. You do not want to get on Twitter, because that Twitter has ruined my life, because I've been trolling Donald Trump's feed, and I make the mistake of doing it like right before I go to sleep, and the next thing you know, it's like 2 in the morning. I'm like, what am I doing?
Hey, I'll tell you what you're doing. You know what you're
I don't
doing?
want to get sued by Donald Trump.
And what I'm doing is I'm dumb. I should ignore him.
No.
But I can't ignore him.
Hey, you're making America great again. So, hey, no, it's true. Every time somebody, because you know I'm a Trump supporter, but we'll get to that in a minute. By the way, speaking of, hey, did you know I'm a mentally ill Trump supporter? And I will tell you that I do support the mentally ill, but as we're proceeding here, we're going to say this. We have with us a special guest host this evening on the Please Cast. Did you know there's no losers, by the way, on the Please Cast? And here's one of those people that's not a loser, Scott Shimamoto.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Yes, I'm having a lot of fun right now.
I know, it's fun. Hey, listen, before we go on, because we don't want to drive everybody away with all this Jesus stuff. Hey, did you know that Christians are actors? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's their job to act, and that Christians, it's their job to act like somebody else. Yeah, Leon, you knew that, right? Leon knew that Christians are actors, right? Leon knows that. Yeah.
Christ,
Right. Yeah, and then.
Look, I'm about to bring you back, bro.
Okay. Wait a second. But before we go on, I wanted to say that there was a couple of movies that came to my mind, and I wanted to see if we could get one confirmation of a title. Speaking of Bernie Mac, we watched the Bernie Mac show when my kids were growing up, and my kids loved Bernie Mac, and I did too. But he was in two really good movies that I really enjoyed. One was Bad Santa. Remember that one?
I never saw Bad Santa.
It's a good movie.
I didn't see that.
Man, Bernie Mac was great in that one.
I heard, oh my God, I heard nothing but good things about that movie.
Yeah, and then, of course, they made the sequel, Bad Santa 2, but of course they had already killed the character of Bernie Mac's character. Of course, he had died in real life. But hey, rest in peace, Bernie Mac, by the way. Seriously.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Genius.
but he was also in another movie called, I think it was called Mr. 3000, where he played the baseball player that had to go back for one more year in the majors.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of his hits was an asterisk. Remember that one?
I remember that.
What was that one
Yeah.
called? What was the name of that one?
It was, I think it was Mr. 3000.
Okay.
It was Mr. 3000, I thought.
Yeah, man, that was a good movie. He was such a good character in that. That's to me the other good baseball movie was Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck.
I love that movie.
Man, that's a good baseball movie also, isn't it? Don't you love good? And I don't even play baseball, but I love baseball movies.
Wasn't Bernie Mac in Life? I'm guessing the movie Life with Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. I think it's Bernie Mac.
I don't know that
Away
title.
Prison.
I don't know that title.
Wow, that movie, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's back in the day. Baby boomers.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, Martin, I didn't say Martin, but Martin Lawrence's TV show, oh my goodness, that was so
Classic.
Oh my God. My dad used to watch that show, and, my dad, okay, so after World War II, his dad took the family back to Japan or whatever, so he was educated in Japan, and so he's kind of like the Japanese Ricky Ricardo, because when he got back, he had the same Ricky Ricardo hair, and he'd start yelling at us, and then, he'd be mixing Japanese and English at the same time. It was so funny. I mean, he would yell at us, and I would laugh because it was just so funny to me, and he would be like, the more I laughed, the madder he got, and it was just like this ridiculous thing, and I just had to learn how to read really, really fast so I could run away so I could get beat down. But, oh my God.
Yeah, we used to laugh at our grandma.
Yeah.
My great grandma, when she would speak in Spanish to us really fast, and we would laugh at her, and we'd be like, "Oh my God, what is she saying?" But she was a wonderful person.
He liked Martin. He loved Martin, man. That cracked me up, dude.
Yeah, Martin was cool with that Fresh Prince too. But it's weird how Martin, he had his own show and did stand up, but then Will Smith had his own show, but I don't remember any stand up from Will.
Like, because he was a rapper, because he was a Fresh Prince.
So no stand up from Will Smith, huh?
Nope.
He
I never
wasn't
saw
made
him.
it man. He was hilarious on his show.
Yeah, I love that
comic
show.
actor.
That's another show that
It's
my kids
different.
grew up on.
But there's a difference between a stand-up and a comic actor, right? I mean, it's different. Not everybody can do stand-up. Not everybody can act, obviously. But, you know, they're writing his lines for him for the most part, probably. At least, you know, he probably has his own little flavor, too. But for the most part, they're making the situation for him, and you know, he's just dropping punchlines. A little bit different. A little different.
Yeah.
Hey, let me jump in real quick on this. I want to take this bit. I want to talk a little bit about Richard Pryor also. Hey, that's a great transition, Leon. Thanks for that, because I know you know how many episodes I've watched of Martin is none. I've never seen that show.
Really?
No,
Oh, my God.
I'm serious.
Really?
Let me tell you a little bit about my history of racism real quick. In the 90s, I was a racist. Yeah, but I was a closet racist, also known as a Republican. Back in those days, I was a registered Republican. And what happened was I got saved eventually, and I found out that the best way to live is as if, you know, you can be a racist, but doesn't mean you have to be mean to people. Like Lyndon Johnson, he was a terrible racist, but look at all the good he did for people. You know, and I'm serious. I always tell people we need another racist like Lyndon Johnson in the White House. And I always said Trump could be the next Lyndon Johnson. So we're just going to watch. But we're looking. Hey, did you know, did I tell you I'm a Trump advisor? I'm one of his advisors. Yeah.
Yeah, you're...
So, but listen, I wanted to say
what's
one of my
your title
favorite...
down there at the White House?
Yeah, but you know what? They've got it under control, I think. Hey, we're going to do this again. So Superman 3 is one of my favorite movies, and Richard Pryor is one of the reasons. And when I was a kid, I was never allowed to watch any Richard Pryor movies or any Richard Pryor comedy shows or anything because he was a filthy, R-rated, foul-mouthed comedian. And also probably secretly because he was black. But the Superman 3... I was exposed to Richard Pryor. I was allowed to watch this movie when I was a kid, and I loved Superman when I was a kid. And to me, I was talking about this earlier with my wife. Christopher Reeve is the real Superman to me, and
Right.
you know. And then also, Superman 3 though, Richard Pryor was in it, and Superman 3 was actually a comedy pretty much, and it was the funniest movie. But it was so cool because it had that one scene in it where. Remember, Richard Pryor made the kryptonite with the added the tar from the cigarettes, and then Superman turns evil. And talk about being ahead of your time. Great movie for all kinds of reasons, but also because of Richard Pryor. Have you ever seen that one? Either of you guys?
You know, I saw the movie. It was so long ago. I can't remember everything there is in there. But I used to like the movies he was in with Gene Wilder.
Yeah, I wasn't. Those are the movies I wasn't allowed to watch.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Yeah.
So
See No Evil, Hear No Evil?
yeah, that one, and there was the other one, Stir Crazy.
Yes, Stir Crazy.
Oh my God, because Gene Wilder was so funny too. Oh my goodness, and the contrast between Gene Wilder being kind of like this. Nerdy's not the word, but I guess not street, and Richard always played kind of like the street kind of ability, and that contrast was just so funny. And those two together, it was just magic. It was crazy how good they were together. That's an underrated comedy duo right there. Yeah, those guys, they're on a higher level than at least like my buddies. We still love those movies.
I still watch Willy Wonka.
Oh, great
Really
movie.
yeah.
Hey, what is your favorite comedy movie then? Tell me about one of your favorite comedy movies. This is a thing I was going to ask you about earlier because I have one right now. I will tell you in a minute what it is, but what is yours, Scott?
Oh gosh, there are so many great ones. I like Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield
Yeah?
because that whole thing with him going back to school and you know he owned this clothing company and he didn't really need to go back to school because he was rich already and it was just Rodney Dangerfield. That's one of my top comics. Too.
Right. He's funny.
But it's funny that the longer we talk about this stuff, you know, the more you remember these different
Yeah.
people that you're forgetting about.
Man, you know what? Dang. How about Caddyshack?
Oh, I love Caddyshack.
That's it. You know what?
Bill Murray.
That's not even like, that really is a classic movie. That's not like, oh, that's a classic because you have to say it's a classic. That's really a funny movie.
Oh, it's so funny. It's amazing. It was with Ted Knight.
Yeah, Ted Knight. Classic.
God, he was so.
So, Leon, what is your favorite comedy movie right off the top of your head?
I just said yes, sir, to you like you were my dad. What was that about?
Oh, is that what it sounded like?
Like I was not doing something bad. I was like, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, go and do it now. What was off the top of your head? Go.
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you said it because I love that movie. Yes.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. Just like, how can Jim Carrey look that goofy the whole
my
90
God.
minutes? It's hilarious.
Oh my God. Hey, and how about you know what? Who I love in that movie was Jeff Daniels. That you know what you said. If you can't keep up with Jim Carrey, just go all out as far as you can, man. Jeff Daniels didn't even try to look cool in that movie. He just went all out.
Yeah, it was whatever. It's
Yeah.
a cardigan. Thanks for noticing. Like,
He
yeah.
said, I like it when he said, he goes, something about, you want to get something to eat? And he goes, no, I'm doing okay. I think I swallowed a June bug back there.
And for years, I didn't even get the joke of why he said, excuse me, Flo. And apparently there's a TV show
Yeah.
where the lady
Right.
Flo or something.
Yeah, Alice.
And I didn't even, but I just laughed nonstop because like the way they looked, they're like, excuse me, Flo. And she just turned around like, what?
It's such a fun, and it's so funny. I remember when we saw the trailer for that one. So I have two things I remember, great things, like really wonderful memories in my mind as an adult. I saw two movie trailers. One was for The Phantom Menace. I was at the doctor's office waiting to get a back thing. I had an outpatient back treatment, and I was in the waiting room, and they showed a trailer for The Phantom Menace. And I think I was around like 29 years old at the time, possibly. I don't know when. I'll do the math later. But anyways, when I saw it, I said, oh my God. Because, you know, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, Episode 1.
Yeah.
And then the other one was this, the trailer for Dumb and Dumber. I was watching a indoor soccer at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim. And the Jumbotron in between the, it was a Wooden Classic basketball game. I think it was around whenever Dumb and Dumber came out, it was that year, and they showed the trailer on the Jumbotron, but you couldn't hear the audio because of all this noise in the Jumbotron, but everybody stopped doing what they were doing and just watched the screen and laughed. The whole stadium was filled, and
That's funny.
they were all laughing, and it was nothing, no sound, it was just all images. So it was just hilarious. But mine, I don't throw mine in there. Horse Feathers by the Marx Brothers.
You know, I never saw that movie either.
Man, I recommend
That's
any
classic,
movie by the Marx Brothers, but I particularly recommend Horse Feathers. And
Really?
yeah, it's very funny. It's such a funny movie. I don't remember all the lines. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm more of a Three Stooges guy.
Okay. Yeah, no, Three Stooges is a good one too. Hey, have a lot of respect for those guys. They made a lot of money for the studio that employed them, and they did not get any money in return, just pennies, perhaps, on the dollar.
Really sad.
Yeah, and I watched,
Really sad.
yeah, and they were good, from what I read and watched on these movies they made about them, they were all of them good people.
I swear, that Larry
Fine. Yeah, Larry Fine.
would be so oh my God, he was so funny.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to do anything. He just makes that crazy,
Yeah.
confused look.
Right.
And,
Right. Man, they're so funny. You know, I have to respect all of those guys. So, okay, listen, you know what we're going to do? We have just a couple of minutes left. We're coming to the end of the program tonight. But did you know that this is the last hour of the program, and this is the gospel hour, and this is what we say is the gospel is finished. So this is the hour where the show is finished. And then now watch this, though. I don't know if Leon knows this, but a bunch of Christians are going to come along here and try to add some things to that later. But that's okay. They can do that later. But now, for now, it is finished. And until the facts change, the gospel is finished. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to reintroduce everybody. Everybody's going to get the good word in. And then we're going to give our special guest host this evening, Scott Shimamoto, is going to get the final good word. And then I, of course, will be your host this evening, the Christian Internet reporting. And then I will then close out the show, and then we will all go home. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, so this is the Please Cast, and we want to say special thank you now to our special friend. He's always our special friend, not just because he's special, and not just because he has special needs, because when you're hanging around in stairwells with cordless microphones, you have some kind of a need that's special, I would say. I don't know what that need is, but it's special. But here he is, Leon the Jokester. Tell us.
Man, that's kind of funny you said that because today I told my wife that, hey, you actually fell in love with someone with special needs, but I actually ended up with special needs after our marriage. And so, how do you feel? And she was like, she actually tried to slap me again, Randall. And so, it's pretty cool, man. I think
watch that
that's
atheism.
the beauty of life, whatever. Yeah.
So you're going to turn you into an atheist all the way, not just that 60%
but
stuff.
I think that's what the beauty of life, man, is like whatever your weaknesses may be. With mine, it's like losing my vision, every year, and it's different because I've always had my vision, but now being down to like 60% only and losing 40%, it's a little different. I can still see things, but it's not as fun as when I had all my vision. So, it's different, but that's the cool part. We can make fun of these things in a fun way, and stuff that I thank God for self-deprecating jokes because I'm not going to be depressed about it. I'm just going to make the best, and I keep getting booked. So it must be cool to be different. So it's all good. So before I sign off, I always want to shout out everybody. Hashtag Please Cast. Randall, you're always great. God, man, it's been a blessing, bro. We definitely have to connect and stay in touch. I want to check yourself out and everything. Everybody know where you can reach me. Facebook.com/Leon.Pearly. YouTube, just type in Leon the Jokester, man. We'll just keep blessing the people. Signing off.
Hey, that's great. Hey, thanks for, you know what? You're really a nice guy, Leon, and this is why. Leon, you didn't know this, Scott, but Leon uses the N-word all the time on this show. You know that, right? Right. He's super nice. He's super nice to everybody. So anyways, what I wanted to say, though, was that Leon is performing live comedy in the Tulsa. He's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he's calling live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we are recording him live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he is now going to give us the final temperature there. What is it?
We're still at 100, man. This is 100. We tested 100 tonight, so I'm going to leave with 100.
All right. So there will be no need for any further fact checking. The facts are good until we reopen the marketplace of ideas tomorrow morning. So tomorrow, of course, we're going to be not talking to Scott Shimamoto, but we're talking to him tonight. And here he is. He's not a loser that we can tell, but we do know that he's the opposite of someone that is going to be not performing in Pasadena at the Ice House on January 31st. And that is true, right? You will be performing at the Ice House in Pasadena on January 31st.
I will be there.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Yeah, and this is Scott Shimamoto, and we're going to give him the final good word on this show. But before we do, I wanted to say that there's a way to get a hold of you, and how is that?
Okay, so I guess probably Facebook is probably good. Scott Shimamoto Comic at Facebook. On Facebook, whatever, just or Google me or something like that, and I have Twitter as well. Scott Shimamoto Comic at gmail.com.
So
Great.
yeah, you'll find me.
Okay, so
find me.
what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the show over to you, Scott Shimamoto. You're going to get the last good word, and then I will, as the Christian Internet Reporting, close out the final segment by saying goodnight to all. So please take it away, sir. Scott Shimamoto, special guest host. Go.
All right, so you guys did not hear my rapping, so I'm going to drop a verse. So open up your mind, let me hit you with this rhyme. Rock a moto in the house, cause it's my time. Fact, you will flow like a pipeline, dumping in your mind. Go rape that digital data line. If you're feeling me, then why don't you give me a sign? Not an east side, not a west side, but a funky vibe resonating all the time in tune. So we can see eye to eye, you know. I'm in the know with the flow, not ignorant, no way. I like to work, you know, I also got to play acapella rhymes, instrumental rhythms, combine as one line to form some kind of prism. So take heed and be forewarned. I'm not the average Oriental rapper creating a song. Back to the subject, now people come with me, come on, Dana. Oh, time to get up or get down. That's what I'm talking about. And we don't get down with this sound.
Wow.
Every time we on the hashtag FreeScap, we come around. I'm
Did you-
out. Oh, babe, is he freestyling out there?
Yeah.
I wish I could do that. But I just wanted to thank you for letting me come on your show. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Great meeting you over the phone, Leon. I'm gonna try. We'll trade our Facebooks and check each other out.
Okay, now
Yeah,
listen.
bro.
Yeah, and as we do this, I want to say, I've got to close it out. I know you got to, Scott Shimamoto, you got to do something. And then I know, Leon, you have something to do also. You got to stay up till 1 a.m. writing jokes. Now, this is what I want to say to you, Scott. You are only a special guest host one time on the Pleasecast. After that, you are co-host. So anybody that is a special guest host at one time is now part of the Pleasecast team. So welcome to the team. And then now it is,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Also, just for being on the show for the first time, I know I got a backlog of these. I don't think Leon's got his yet. But this, just because of this, now you're on this show, you're going to get a copy of This Is a Christian Book. And this is the book that explains Christians from the point of view of a mentally ill Christian, and that would be me. So from me to you, what we'll do is we'll trade information off the air because we don't want too much information going to Trump yet. That's for later time. We know that this is being recorded for a later time. If he needs it later, he can get it, but we don't want him to get it too early. He's got a lot of stuff to do. Executive time, we don't need to overdo him because, you know, hey, did you know I'm a mentally ill Trump supporter? By the way, before we sign off. And I want to make sure everybody here is a mentally ill. Sure. Do you guys like supporting the mentally ill, by the way? I do.
Hey,
Yeah, I do because I am mentally ill. Yeah. So whenever I look in the mirror, I always say, you know, Trump is the president for mentally ill people. Did you know that? Yeah, he is. And okay, so on that note, I like to try to say as many nice things about Trump as I can every night, and those were the 2 nice things I could say about him. And I love being. I forgot to get the Philippians 4:8, but we'll have to save that for next time. I didn't want to offend too many Christians. But tonight, I do want to thank again our special guest host, Scott Shimamoto, and also co-hosting tonight, Leon the Jokester. And this has been the Pleasecast, and this is the time now where I'm saying goodnight, and we'll see you next time.
good night, everybody. Thanks a lot. Good night.
The Christian Internet Reporting.